Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. The concept of today's video is damage per second, exactly what the title says. Yes, there are tons of variables when it comes to doing damage, such as a dive, your bullet velocity, learning all that stuff to actually do damage. But if you understand the concept of uptime and maintaining it overall and not dying, yeah, it's simple, you will be putting out more damage. We're going to be spectating a pro match because yes, it's simple, but it applies even to the highest level, to any game, to World of Warcraft, to Apex Legends, and here in Marvel Rivals. If you just step away and that concept sticks with you, then we're in the step in the right direction. So let's dive in. The individual we're going to be focusing on today is going to play Bucky, and it's going to be a Hunter Thieves Terra. I promise you, when you step away from this video, you're going to learn a lot when it comes to doing really strong damage based on positioning, timing, and again, like we said at the very beginning of the video, damage per second. If you can understand this concept, I promise you, you'll start to do a lot more damage, but also continue to notice when you're making a lot of mistakes. So let's dive into this full round. I promise you, just watching the first round is going to be more than enough. If you leave a like, let's cover more rounds, but I'm going to try to be respectful of your time, so let's get into it. Now, keep in mind, as we're just watching Bucky, that all damage isn't the whole picture. I've done a lot of damage even as Punisher with over 43,000 damage and still have lost a game before. So it also depends on where the damage is going and the output. But based on what you're going to see from Terra's gameplay today, I promise you're going to see a fantastic uptime. So one of the biggest things is that you will not see that Terra is shy at all, but also using the stairs to ensure that he has proper cover. This is already another important point into making sure that you maintain uptime. So let's go ahead and do this in slow motion. Because right off the rip, a lot of people, whenever they lack damage, it just means that sometimes you're not even setting yourself up for success. Instead of hanging all the way in the back, you'll notice that he's going to use the stairs right here, but also near his tanks. See how Magneto's here and also the Thing is located nearby? And this gets a great opportunity to grab some individuals, and notice how this cover right here blocks, but he's able to pull the Strange to that specific angle. This is another great tip if you're playing Invisible Woman to finding those angles, because just as a DPS, as a healer, you need to make sure that you're keeping proper uptime. This is really, really important, and you're going to see, because he plays so close to his tanks, but also positions well behind them, you'll see that he doesn't overextend because he's not a dive. Now, if you are a dive, and here's another point, that you're going to use your movement to get in and out of position. Notice that even though he's Bucky, let's look at this. Let's go back just a fraction here. And honestly, we might as well just go in slow motion for this whole bit. That he notices that they're moving, and he uses his ability to move over to keep uptime. He doesn't wait because he knows he has to get over to that angle. Another great thing that he does is that he maintains constant usage of his abilities, meaning that he'll make sure that if they are on cooldown, that he's using them as efficiently as possible. You'll notice in my master guide when it comes to Invisible Woman or any healer, top 10 strategist tips, that I gave as well, that you need to make sure that you're using proper uptime. Now, you're going to miss occasionally some of them, but if you played games like World of Warcraft, if you're missing certain key moments and elements, I promise you, then you're going to miss out on damage per second. Maybe you're not using an ultimate as many times during a fight. This can apply to any game that you play, so I promise you, if you get this concept well here, it's going to apply to everywhere, even Apex Legends. Showcasing presence, make sure that you have damage, that you're actually taking your shot. You have to be able to take your shot, because there's a lot when it comes to DPS. Yes, you have to be overwhelmed by bullet velocity. You'll see that the bullets when it comes to this gun are extremely slow, but the more you miss, the more you're going to be able to get used to it and practice it. See, notice how he's still behind his tanks here. He's getting good picks, and he's doing as much damage as possible, but as soon as he gets one, then he starts to back up. He repositions. Look at this fantastic reposition going away, but also making sure that he stays at least within earshot of his tanks, because keep in mind, imagine he got the knock and he just kept barreling through, and he's using his abilities to keep those slows up and keep the damage pummeled. It's really hard to kill somebody if they're being really smart with their positioning. It's amazing how much of a difference this can make, because when you see this, all it takes is one strong pick, and then the game starts to shift. Even though their healers are both up, the Bucky was able to pull towards that angle, and even notice this, he's trying, and again, he's not going to be perfect. This is why it's important to even look at pro play, because they're missing still, and still not playing perfect, but that means that there's room to clean up as you play this game for another 500 hours, 1,000 hours. Think of Apex Legends even at the start. If you played Apex, Halo, Call of Duty, your gameplay from 500 hours to even 1,000 to 1,500, or even if you're new, the difference of going from 10 hours to even just 50 is pretty massive. Now, one thing that I love that the Bucky does here as well is that when he resets, yes, the hell is overextended, putting pressure, but it's also a hit scan. So then they can just pretty much do quick peeks around the angle. But the Bucky will make sure to take height here and wait. Even though, if we look at the overall damage here, ready? We see that, yeah, he's got the most damage. He's got the most kills. He's not overextending. He's waiting patiently for that right moment. So then he can, you know, pretty much play with his squad. He's not just constantly overextending. This is one of the most common mistakes DPS make as well, as overextending on encounters, where they go overextend. And keep in mind, like I said, if you're a dive, that's why in comp you don't see Spider-Man and Black Panther running around, is because people are clumped up and not making less mistakes. I'm not saying it's impossible, but you're probably wondering when you watch pro play why it works versus, let's say, a quick play match, is because in quick play, or even probably lower ranks, people do play spread out. And that's what Bucky is really doing here. And it's a great lesson if you're playing proper dive, and what they're looking for is somebody who is able to get caught out and pull them away from an angle. So keep in mind that dive can be pretty easy to deal with at upper level, but it can be an absolute menace because people don't understand the concept of playing together. Let's skip ahead just a little bit here. And I guess we didn't have to go that far. Where they start to push up top. Let's see how the Bucky handles this, because he doesn't get eliminated at all. He's got his healers, but he's also utilizing cover here, and the tank runs over. He's got cover, ready? And he's going to use his ability to try to grab, and he pulls one in. That's a great pull. That's phenomenal, because now this Strange is technically overextended. He pushes him forward, and now the healers can't even heal this Doctor Strange. Remember I said all it takes is to catch one person out of position. Right? If you can catch somebody out of position and the Magneto's over here, that's technically a strong block. All it takes is that one moment. So if you're in a lower level, trust me, you're going to see this happen all of the time. Granted, pro players don't make it as often, but I promise you, if you start to at least identify that, you'll notice that he's keeping his uptime as well just extremely high. And this is where it's over at this point. This is where Bucky has great synergy, because once he gets one pick and just keeps the momentum going, the uptime is phenomenal at this point in terms of damage. That's just, I guess it's great to use Bucky as an example, because once you got momentum and you got a kill, you go for another, keeping up that damage. Boom, just keep it going. Why would you hold damage, right? And for everyone, this might seem like, hey, well, that's super obvious. Well, if it was so obvious, why do we see a lot of bad DPS, right? That's why we have to teach these things. That's why damage per second is so important, uptime overall, for whatever you're trying to achieve with your squad. Even though he's pushing forward, a great thing that's happening. And yeah, you may be commenting, well, my tanks don't really push forward. Well, then you're going to have to stay behind them still, or try to find that one pick and pull somebody forward, right? Now, once your team starts to snowball and gain momentum, then yeah, you can start to push forward and find those angles and find those moments. And I mean, keep in mind, it's crazy how large hitbox are in this game compared to others. So if you're good at Call of Duty, Apex, and stuff like that, your shot can be pretty strong in this game overall, just because of the size of hitbox and the size of bullets overall. So it's pretty amazing. So we're already 51% in, right? And like I said, I really only wanted to focus on one round. And he's 10 kills, not a single death. And that is really attributed to their playstyle here. They're all playing very well together. They're pulling the right picks. They're finding the right moments. And if you're asking the question again, I'll reiterate, what if my team doesn't play together? Then you're going to have to slow roll it in. You're going to have to make a change. That's whenever the legend swaps start to happen and say, their Bucky is a huge pain. What's going on? Maybe we use some of the more consistent damage. If you're not getting damage, Squirrel Girl from a distance to start putting pressure on the backline in some way, shape, or form. Maybe Moon Knight to use an ultimate to get people to spread out, because people are clumped up. That's a great way to counter with Moon Knight. These are just suggestions, but this is why you need to have an alternative pick to know what's going on, to what to do and what to counter with. That's why it's so important. And you can learn this. All you have to do is just watch any of these tournaments, and you'll start to identify and say, this is what I need to improve upon. Now, be patient with yourself, because I promise you, yes, it's not perfect. Whenever you look at this, you're going to take these notes and say, oh, I just got to keep uptime. But guess what's going to happen? You're going to make a mistake where you overextend, where you forget to use abilities, where you're just standing out in the open. But guess what? You don't have a tank there. So you're going to make mistakes. But if you look at your gameplay and say, oh, I wasn't behind my tanks, I was overextended, my healers weren't anywhere near me, or maybe I was standing behind them so they didn't see me. You know, they don't have eyes in the back of their heads, right? Be a team player. Understand what your team is doing so they can play properly with you. And if you do that, even if you have just a decent game, you'll notice overall, everyone is having a great game. Everyone is doing great. You know, we're using the Bucky, but the tanks are having a great game. The healers are having a great game because nobody's getting eliminated and everyone's playing cohesively together. Now let's see what this Bucky does. Unfortunately, it looks like they were trying to pull them in, but it looks like it didn't work. So what we're going to do as we start to speed up, because I think we've kind of gotten the concept here, is we'll start to speed it up here. Remember, your movement can help you get in and out of a fight faster. Damage per second, anything that keeps your uptime, it's going to be extremely important. And I wanted to keep the spectating just a little shorter, because as long as you step away, and you remember, Daz said to make sure I keep my damage up. Trust me, like I said, I've done it with Black Widow, I've done it with some, like that's one of the worst characters in the game. And sometimes I will still get the most damage in the round, because at least I'm trying to do as much damage as humanly possible. Now, again, remember, this Bucky never dies. It's crazy. Based on the positioning, he singles out the backline. Let's look at this. That's also another thing as a DPS. You can have a lot of great damage, but I want to point out, when you have these moments, right? You notice, okay, these are all inside, you know, within this bubble. I'm not going to do much effective damage here. Let's go for the backline, right? The backline meaning what's not defended. Bucky's not behind the tank because the tanks are pushing forward to try to secure the point. The Bucky here has the ability to finish him, go for the healers, and just maintain momentum because nobody's watching. Effectively, Bucky is acting like a dive at this moment, which works because nobody has focused the Bucky at all. And it's amazing. So what we're going to do is we'll slow it down just a little bit here, just for the ending, and wrap up today's video. That's the concept I want to teach. How to DPS. It literally is how to damage per second. That is the theme of today's video. There's all kinds of variables, but if you do damage and you try to do as much damage per second, that's a great place to start. Whether you're a seasoned player or whether you're new to the game, where you never stop obsessing about your uptime and what you could have done better and how you can position behind your teammates using proper angles and where to fight. Because otherwise, I look forward to hearing in the comments where you guys really succeed and find amazing moments like this. Let me know if you found this video helpful. I didn't want to hit on the same point too hard, but I felt like one round enough with some slow motion focused on Bucky, looking at him, because the same concept applies to just everyone, damage per second. Thank you guys again so much for watching, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Bye, everybody.